At a recent global economy forum, a senior Russian official, one of President Putin's closest advisors, made a claim that shocked everyone in the room. He said Washington is preparing to push its entire $37 trillion national debt into a digital currency system and use that shift to quietly reset the financial order. It sounds like a conspiracy headline, but buried in his statement is a real process already unfolding inside U.S. monetary policy. Today on Trend Ledger, we'll break down how it works, why it matters, and what ordinary investors can learn before the reset is complete. America has devalued its debt before, more than once. In 1933, Roosevelt changed the gold price overnight, cutting the real value of federal debt by nearly 70%. In 1971, Nixon severed the gold link entirely, forcing the world to accept dollars not backed by metal. The dollar has lost about 96% of its purchasing power since. And in 1985, the Plaza Accords deliberately pushed the dollar down another 25% to rescue U.S. exports. Every few decades, a monetary reset reduces the weight of old promises and lets the system start fresh. By that schedule, we're due again. This time there's no need to confiscate gold or negotiate a global pact. The modern tool is digital liquidity expansion, using technology and policy to move idle dollars instead of printing new ones. Since 2020, the broad money supply has jumped roughly 40%, yet the number of houses, barrels of oil, and tons of wheat hasn't. That's why prices everywhere, from groceries to real estate, rose 40 to 70%. Economists call it inflation. In practice, it's debt dilution. When each dollar buys less, the government's outstanding debt becomes easier to repay in weaker money. Foreign lenders see what's happening. China, Japan, and other big holders of treasuries have been selling. Foreign ownership of U.S. debt has fallen from roughly 1/3 to barely 1/4 in a decade. So who will finance Washington next? That's where stablecoins enter the story. Stablecoins, digital tokens like USDT or USDC, are meant to stay equal to $1. To issue them, companies must hold real reserves. The new Genius Act now requires those reserves to be U.S. Treasuries or cash. Every dollar that users deposit to mint a stablecoin is instantly recycled into Treasury bills. Tether alone already holds about $127 billion of that debt. Circle holds another $55 billion. Together they rank among the top 20 creditors of the United States, larger than many national central banks. As global crypto adoption grows, so does automatic demand for treasuries. It's a feedback loop. More digital dollars, more treasury purchases, more funding for Washington. Here's the clever part. Banks in the U.S. keep about $3 trillion parked at the Federal Reserve, money created during past bailouts but sterilized, meaning it can't circulate. The Genius Act quietly allows those deposits to back new stable coins. Instead of printing fresh money, the system can reactivate dormant reserves and let them flow through digital channels. Same dollars, new motion. As that money starts moving, the dollar weakens slightly, assets rise, and the real value of the federal debt erodes, without anyone calling it inflation. Other nations aren't ignoring this. Central banks are buying gold at the fastest pace since the 1960s, over 1,000 tons per year. Poland, Turkey, China, and the Czech Republic have all expanded their reserves month after month. They're not chasing profit, they're hedging against the dollar's next reset. Gold near $3.700 an ounce isn't a coincidence, it's insurance. These institutions understand that the United States is exporting inflation and preparing a controlled devaluation through its digital currency network. What about Bitcoin? Washington publicly dismissed the idea of a strategic Bitcoin reserve, yet history shows how the U.S. captures private innovation after the pioneers take the risk. SpaceX builds rockets, then NASA contracts them. Amazon built cloud servers. The intelligence community rents them. Today, companies like MicroStrategy, Marathon, and major ETFs are already accumulating Bitcoin. Whether the government ever calls it a reserve or not, the infrastructure is forming outside of policy, and it can be absorbed later. The reset isn't an event, it's a process already in motion. The laws are written, the reserves exist, the mechanisms are running quietly behind the scenes. By the time the public recognizes it, the value transfer will be complete. So what can individuals do? Think like the central banks. Hold fewer promises, more realities. Assets with limited supply, gold, Bitcoin, productive land, strategic minerals, tend to adjust upward when currency supply expands. Fiat savings and long-term government bonds adjust downward. Whether you see it as a threat or an opportunity depends on how early you position yourself. If you found this breakdown useful, hit subscribe and I'll see you in the next one.